Happy day, moms. Now, if any of you have been curious at all about how did I even get attracted to Feng Shui? What's my Feng Shui journey? Well, I'll tell you a little bit about probably how it all started for me when I was a kid. Actually, I grew up with two parents who are artists, um, and my mom in particular. She she made a lot of pottery, and she loved creating. She loved writing poetry. She loved painting. She loved all sorts of art forms. And it reached a point in our home where even our kitchen table was not a place where we could eat. It was just filled with pottery and all kinds of random things inside the pots. Um, and it kind of expanded all throughout our apartment. And I always had this joke that I could close my eyes and reach my hand out and always be surprised by what I would find, because it would be some sort of random thing. It could be, you know, a cluster of pens in a pot, or some sticky notes, or an eraser in just things, just anything you could imagine. Like this old photo of me when I was a baby, like in a random drawer on a bedside table or couch side table. So uh, let's say it made for an interesting experience growing up. And I think I was just born differently. Okay. Even the way that I played was structured. I categorized my toys. Like I had marches with my people to get them clean, and I dump them in powder, and one by one move them along furniture from my dollhouse until they got marched to get clean. Like the end of the march was like a big bowl of water. Okay, uh, I would categorize my little ponies by their color, by the color of their hair, the color of their skin, the color of their eyes, and play with them in weird ways. Okay, so so at some point, I think when I moved away from home and I went to college, I, for the first time, could really set up my own space. And I noticed how good it felt to actually be able to see the things that I loved around me. And so that was when I realized that this is how space could feel. Um, that you could have things you love, but maybe not have so many of them, so that you can actually see or appreciate what it is you have. And this was basically a practice that I just carried wherever I moved. I always found myself wanting to make even the bathroom pretty with fabrics and all sorts of things like that. And there was even one time when I was in graduate school, just working a little side job at the school, and they asked me to organize a clothing swap, item swap area. And I'm supposed to be working in the office, mostly answering calls. And so they sent me to do this task, and I just got lost in there for probably hours, and to the point where they had to come and get me because I was just enjoying organizing so much. So I've learned, and I've also always just loved color. It would always translate to how I dressed. And then I used to make jewelry because I just loved seeing how different color combinations connected with each other, what the relationship to each other was, and all the different ways that you could, play with clothing. Call me a colorist or something like that. So, you know, fast tracked. I moved back into the home when my mom was really sick, and she passed away in the home. She passed away of cancer. And then I basically inherited all the stuff, all the things that I got away from, I had to now deal with. And that's when Feng Shui became my roadmap. And, I was more of a dabbler then, so I was finding information online and figuring out how to lay the bagua and getting confused because there's lots of different ways to lay the bagua. And at the time it worked for me because I was able to bring more intention into what to do with these different areas, right? Like it gave me the freedom to feel okay with letting things go because there was another vision I had for that area and what I wanted to attract, which at the time was a partner. I wanted a partner. So I put up images of couples all over the place. I mean, in the bedroom, in the living room, like it was like, okay, bring me somebody. Okay, please. um, and so that started the journey. And then I ended up becoming a massage therapist and learning both Eastern and Western approaches to massage. And I learned shiatsu, which involves this 5-element theory that comes from ancient China that I didn't even realize was connected to the Feng Shui that I was already curious about. And so there reached a point in my life where I think I was experiencing a lot of anxiety, a lot of difficulty sleeping, and I had been in therapy, and I just felt like there's something else I need. Like I need a way, a way to deal with this anxiety, something different than just talking. And that's when I really became curious about studying and going to school for Feng Shui. And I looked up all these different programs. And then it turned out there was this program in New York City, and they do Feng Shui consultations at a discount rate for the students going to the school. So that's when I said yes, and I got my very first Feng Shui consultation at home. And it was turned out to be way, way more than what I thought it was. And it was this very emotional and moving experience, to have the energy in my home shifted, especially after my mom had passed away. I didn't realize like she was still present in the space, and she needed some attention. So that's kind of like how the journey began. And so now I say this because now I'm in this place where I really am intentional about everything that I place. Like I literally do not buy something unless I know where it's gonna go. And this is a very profound practice, because like I've been saying, the items in your home, they're speaking to you. That whether you realize it or not, they're telling you, they're sending you a message. And so I just want you to always be thinking about what just like the consumption of media or the consumption of food that we put in our bodies, it can also be a practice to think about what's consuming me visually in my environments. What are the messages that I am generating in my own home, right? What's my home telling me that I am actually creating, manifesting without my intention being that, right? Because there's times when we have the best intentions in the world, moving forward in our lives, but we've set up our environment, which is a bigger entity than us. We set it up so that it's actually working against even those best intentions, right? So just like a meditative practice or a yoga practice, it's a practice. It's lifelong. And this is what I'm trying to educate people about, is that your connection with your environment is also a lifelong experience. And when we become mindful of what we place around us, then we also have more power in our lives.